responding back. I appreciate that. Good evening and welcome to the 10th Norfolk District debate between Mr. Rich Eustis and Mr. Jeff Roy, both who were successful in winning their respective party primaries a few weeks ago. The Republican town committees and the Democrat town committees are co-sponsoring this event, and actually it's those committees that are actually co-moderating the event.
Right. My name is Bob Ferrari. I'm the chair of the Medway Democratic Town Committee. Happy to be co-sponsoring this event with the Republican and Democratic Town Committee.
I'm Kent Scott. I'm a member of the Medway Republican Town Committee, and in full disclosure, as Bob I'm sure will disclose as well, that I'm also a member of the committee to elect Mr. Eustis as the next state representative, and Bob.
I'm on the committee to elect Jeff Roy. Well balanced.
There you go. So it's a true bipartisan effort, and we thank the opportunity to be with you tonight to introduce our candidates. This debate is one of two that will transpire with the second at the Horace Mann School in Franklin on October 23rd at 7 p.m. Would you help me to welcome our fine candidates to the platform, Mr. Rich Eustis and Mr. Gentlemen, if you'll take a moment and to introduce yourselves. That would be you, Mr. Roy, first, if you will. No, just an introduction. That's right.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Roy, and I am the Democratic nominee for the 10th Norfolk District State Representative race.
Good evening, folks. Thanks for coming. My name is Richard Eustis. I'm proud to be the Republican nominee for the 10th Norfolk State Representative seat. Thank you.
It's my duty to explain how this debate will work. The nominees will be engaging in a modified Lincoln-Douglas-style debate for approximately 1 hour. As a result of a coin toss that took place earlier in the evening, Mr. Roy will present his 5-minute opening statement first. He'll be followed by Mr. Eustis, who will also speak for 5 minutes. By prior agreement, the nominee that speaks second in the opening will also speak last in the closing. The nominees will discuss 5 issues for 4 minutes each in the following order: education, economic development / jobs, local funding, tax policy, and the role of government. The nominees have agreed to alternate answering first on each of these topics once the opening statements have been concluded. The co-moderators, Kent and I, and the timekeeper will control the debate, and time limits will be courteously but strictly enforced.
Thank you very much. As a reminder, I'm Jeffrey Roy, running for the state representative seat here for Franklin and Medway, Massachusetts. First of all, I want to thank you all for coming here tonight. This is a very important election for both communities, and it's great to see such a good turnout. And I know that folks are watching at home to hear 2 candidates engage in this discussion. I also want to thank my wife and my 3 children. It's somewhat cliche to say that a campaign takes its toll on a family, but I can tell you, being engaged in this for 7 months, having them there every night to welcome me home and encourage me to get up every day and get on with this race, I can't tell you how meaningful that is. So I definitely want to say thank you to my family for being here. I also want to thank the Medway Democratic Town Committee and the Medway Republican Town Committee for sponsoring this debate, and I want to thank Rich for getting involved in this race and giving the citizens an opportunity to hear what's at stake in the 10th Norfolk District and get a decision made on the choice for who should be the next state representative. I'm running in this race because I'm committed to public service, and public service is a way of paying back. I go back to that expression that to those whom much is given, much is expected. Me, my family, and my friends, we've all benefited from government programs that helped us help ourselves. And those programs helped us improve our lives, and it's our duty to see that the same opportunities are passed on to others. It's part of that generational responsibility that we have. Now, the 10th Norfolk District needs an experienced leader, someone who will protect local aid, someone who will finish what's been started with Medway's Route 109 project, someone who will assist with the Child Birth Pollution Control project, someone who will work closely with the town and local officials, and someone who will control unfunded mandates that are hindering our communities. Ladies and gentlemen, I am that candidate. Let me tell you a little about my background. I have been married to my wife Maureen for 24 years, and together we have raised 3 children, all educated in the Franklin Public Schools. 2 of them, one is a college graduate, one is in college at this time, and I have a junior in high school. I've owned a home in Franklin since 1986, and before that I grew up down the street in Milford, Massachusetts. I spent my 26-year career as a lawyer working hard to obtain justice for working men and women. I started my own law business in 1993 with a law partner, and we've been in business every day together since that time, and we built a very successful law practice in the city of Boston. For 14 years, I've had the honor and privilege of working with great teams on the town council in Franklin and the school committee. I was the chairman of the school committee for 9 of my 10 years with that team. And in 2010, under my leadership, we were touted as a spotlight district in the United States for its high return on investment in education. We were rated as highly efficient in all categories and metrics covered by that study. 3 years earlier, our community was rated as one of the top 10 places to raise a family in the United States, and our educational system was noted to be way above average. We introduced innovative programs like the Franklin Arts Academy and many others that make our school system a model in Massachusetts. We've always been committed to high performance, efficiency, innovation, transparency, and accessibility. And now I have the opportunity to serve on the town council, taking on public safety, roads, elder services, facilities, and other issues. I currently chair the master plan committee, which is outlining the vision for the future of Franklin. In each of these arenas, I have been tested. I've been called upon to make difficult decisions, and I rose to the challenge. I've worked on complicated budget matters, town budgets, school budgets, building committee budgets. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring that experience, qualifications, and commitment with me to Beacon Hill. And I want to assure my friends in Medway that I'm going to devote equal time and attention to your needs, and I'll represent everyone in the district. I've enjoyed going door to door, engaging in conversations, and you folks have been generous with your time, your ideas, and your concerns. And I look forward to spending the next 21 days continuing this conversation. We're all in this together, but to be successful, I need your help and your vote on November 6th. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for your service to the town of Franklin. Thank you for your service as a public servant in this race. Thank you, Bob, and thank you, Ken, for giving us generously your time to serve here as moderators tonight. Thank you to the Democratic and Republican town committees as well for helping us put this event together tonight. And most importantly, thank all of you for coming here. If you're here tonight or you're home watching this on TV, you obviously care about your government, you care about your community, and I appreciate that as a member of your community, and I thank you for that. My opponent has said during this campaign that he thinks that Massachusetts is doing things right, that he thinks that Massachusetts is, to quote him, on the right track. Since this campaign started, I've been to just over 5,000 houses and door-to-door starting last spring. I've been officially bitten by 3 dogs and chased by a number of others off their yards. All of those dogs, I think, were Democrats. And over those 5,000 houses, I've yet to meet a single voter that agrees with Mr. Roy, that we're on the right track. Here's what they're telling me. They're telling me that they're working harder than ever, many of them now having 2, 3, 4 jobs between households, making less and saving less. They're telling me that they're buried by health insurance premium costs. They tell me that they can't bear these costs further. They're telling me that the cost of college in this state is too great a burden to bear. And many of them, remarkably, have told me that as soon as their kids are through school, they can't wait to leave the state. And is it any wonder? The State House has been controlled for a generation by Mr. Roy's party. In fact, up until 2 years ago, out of the 160 state representative seats, all but 16 were held by Democrats. We're in a school tonight, so let's look at their report card. Let's see how that party that's had complete control over our state government has done. Last 3 speakers of the House have been federally indicted. 3 state senators are serving prison sentences. This party that's had the keys to the candy store and the hands in the cash register has had scandal after scandal. That's a fact. They've raised our taxes while cutting local aid. We'll talk about that in more detail tonight. That's a fact. Taken more money from these communities, sent it to Boston, and given less back for our schools, our police, our fire, the services that we care most about. We're losing population at record numbers. In the last 12 years, more people have left this state than have come into it, and it's getting worse. In the last 5 years, those rates have accelerated. We're losing jobs at record pace. And those jobs, when they leave, take tax revenue. All the things that we care about locally in the community are funded by that tax revenue. Perhaps most troubling, we were rated recently 47th out of 50 states in terms of the best places to do business by Fortune 500 CEOs. All this despite the fact that we have the best schools in the country, best universities in the world, the best hospitals in the world. This is a state that's always been first. It's our history. It's our legacy. This is where the first shots of the American Revolution were fired. This is the birthplace of freedom. This is where the first Constitution was drafted. Nearly a decade ahead of our national Constitution, our state Constitution. The oldest written democratic Constitution in the world was here. We were first. And now we're 47th out of 50. It's unacceptable, and it's certainly not the right direction. Now, I like Mr. Roy personally. In fact, I'd like to take a moment to invite him personally to have a beer with me at Vicky Cassidy's after this campaign, or at Cole's Tavern in Franklin. I like Jeff. We just disagree significantly politically. And elections are about choices. If you agree with Mr. Roy that we're on the right track in this state, then I'm not your candidate. I'm running for the hardworking families and the struggling businesses of this community. And I would love your support and be honored to serve you as your next state representative. Thank you.
Before we begin, if anybody has a cell phone with them, would they kindly turn it off? Thank you. First issue will be about education, and Mr. Eustis will be first.
This is a topic that, like many of you, I couldn't, frankly, care more about. I have 2 daughters who are currently attending high school in this building. And if you think this campaign or this debate is a tough fight, you should see the 2 of them fighting over the bathroom on a weekend night. They both go to school here in town. I understand what an important investment education is in any community. In fact, I would say that education is the most important investment in any community makes, for a couple of reasons. First, education gives our children the opportunity to have choices as adults. The choice to pick and pursue a career that is fulfilling to them in whatever way is important to them. That's a luxury that many before us didn't have, many generations before us didn't have, most people around the world don't have. We want that for our children. And the only way they can have those choices is through a strong education. That's why I'll always be an advocate for strong public schools. But there's a secondary benefit as well. The stronger a community's schools are, the more attractive it is to businesses as well. Employers want to put down roots in an area where the population is well educated so they can draw their workforce from there. And they want to put down roots in an area where their own children will attend school. So we get a secondary benefit when we invest in education. Here's one area where my opponent and I disagree. While the cost of college education is exorbitant, my opponent had supported, actually on this stage in his debate in the Democratic primary, in-state tuition rates for children of legal immigrants. He has some formula in mind where their money's going to be loaned and it will be collected back from some. He can explain it if he wishes. This is a luxury we cannot afford. When we provide benefits like that to members of our community that aren't legally here, we're depriving our own tax-paying citizens of those benefits. The costs associated to this, we can't manage. This creates competition for our own children who are trying to get seats in those same universities. And worse, it creates an attraction to illegal immigration to this state. And this, again, is yet a number of examples that I'm going to talk to you about tonight where the priorities among Mr. Roy's party and my party are just different. I don't think a priority in this state should be giving in-state tuition rates to children of illegal immigrants. And when I go door to door and talk to folks in this community, again, I haven't met any that agree with that premise either. I do think that the cost of college education is too high. Something's got to be done about this. In fact, I ask the younger voters in the audience that are listening to this to consider this. 50% of the college graduates in our state right now are having difficulty getting work. And they're getting out of college buried in college debt. This, again, is yet another example of how this state is just not doing things the right way and why I want to get to Beacon Hill and fight, not just for the folks in this auditorium, but your children as well and my children as well. I've got, as I said, 2 daughters in the high school. One's a senior right now. 8 months from now, she's going to be graduating from high school in this building, and we're going to try to find a way to pay for her college education. And if you think a campaign is stressful, look at the tuition rates these days. Our state's not doing it the right way, and I'm trying to get to Beacon Hill so we can change that. Thank you.
I want to begin by saying that I believe every child deserves a good education, and that's why I'm committed to the state investing in our local schools. Indeed, education forms a large part of my government experience. As I told you earlier, I spent 9 years as a school committee chairman, 10 years as a school committee member, a co-chair of the anti-bullying task force, and I was one of the leaders on the committee to develop the Franklin Arts Academy, which I'll talk to you about later. It's one of the most important things that we do, and it's part of our generational responsibility. Now, this is one of those areas where you're going to hear why I say Massachusetts is on the right track. And Rich, I'd love to invite you to come to Franklin and tour some of the schools with me and see what's happening in those schools. And I guarantee you, you spend a day with me in those schools and you'll see that we're doing things right and we are on the right track. Education, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the most important components of economic development. It's why people come to our area. It's why businesses choose to locate here. And it's why, when we talk about economic development, I'm going to tell you about those companies who came to our area because of our school systems, because we're on the right track. Massachusetts has the best schools in the country. Massachusetts tops the nation in 4th and 8th grade math and reading skills. On the overall index, Massachusetts ranks second only to Maryland. And on 2 of the index's most important measures of results, the Chance for Success Index and the K-12 Achievement Index, Bay State leads the nation. Isn't that good enough for you, Rich? Locally, we've got great offerings in our district. Franklin spends below the state average on all 11 categories of school spending, yet consistently we're a high-performing school district, educating 6,200 students. Medway's got about 2,700 students. I met with the superintendent already. We talked about the concerns with budget, finishing the middle school project, and unfunded mandates. They've introduced some innovative programs here. We have great regional schools in our area. Tri-County provides training for those who want to go into trades or other vocations. We have the Norfolk Aggie School that's also a great contributor to our area. And those schools also offer great alternative education, adult education programs. Maintaining Chapter 70 funding to keep these programs in place is going to be one of the most important jobs of the next state representative. And I'll suggest to you, Rich, that indicting and bashing Beacon Hill is not going to be a good way for you to maintain local aid in this district. I'm going to focus on fighting unfunded mandates that I have experience seeing day in and day out in my work in the school committee. I'm going to work hard for both Medway and Franklin and draw on that experience to get things done. My opponent says education is important to him, but with all due respect, he simply has no record to show that he has done anything to advance it. We need a representative who understands and has a proven record of fighting for you. And again, I'm that candidate. Finally, on the concept of in-state tuition, my opponent got my statements wrong. I indicated at the debate I did not favor the governor's proposal. I had some amendments to it, but that's a hotbed issue. And it's usually only brought up in campaigns like this. This is a local race. It's about local issues. Immigration is a federal issue. And ladies and gentlemen, I suggest to you, focus on what's important. Local issues, Chapter 78, making our schools great, and keeping Massachusetts as the best state in education. Thank you.